that is the separation of African people from their African selves, from their basic African identities. When you have an identity, it is difficult for another person to impose a set of values on you, because having a positive identity and a solid identity is a defense against being penetrated by alien forces.
A prominent figure in San Francisco history, who is William Alexander Leidesdorff Jr. He was, many will attribute him as the founder of San Francisco as we know it. And yeah, it was then known as Yerba Buena. But on his land in San Francisco, they built the first public school in California. And that area is now known as Portsmouth Square. And there's a monument where they basically tell you that the first public school in California was built there. But a lot of this stuff is left out of history, you know. He was also the first millionaire or American millionaire of African descent. And he owned like a lot of land. He owned like a lot of land in Fremont and many other cities throughout. I think he was granted 350,000 acres of land. And he was appointed to like the city council and different governmental positions, which I don't find that important, but it's what he did, you know, and we're not taught about that in history because they want us to feel like we're not welcome or we don't belong, you know, and they want us to basically look back to Africa. That's why, you know, every once in a while you get a European who will tell you go back to Africa. But as Asiatics, we know that any land you go on in the world as we know it, any land you touch down on in the world as you know it, if you dig up 50,000 years worth of sediment, you'll find people with bone structures similar to ours. You know, so we just gotta teach the youth, man, so that we can lose the inferiority complex that we carry, because many of us think that our history started with slavery. However, they don't tell you that in 1492, the same year that Christopher Columbus discovered America, that the Spaniards overthrew the Moorish stronghold Granada and expelled the Moors out of Spain. And I mean, if you put two and two together and read between the lines, there's no way that can be a coincidence, you know? And they don't tell you that in 711, the Moors crossed the Gibraltar Strait.
Rock of Gibraltar.
You know, the Rock of Gibraltar. They crossed that strait into Europe and controlled Spain, Italy, Ireland, and many other lands for 700 years. And the end of that reign in Spain was in 1492. And they also, I mean, if you look at any nationality other than African Americans, but African American really isn't a nationality. If you look at any other so-called race or group of people, then everyone can trace their lineage back to a nation. You know what I mean? Like you'll find a European who knows his lineage. He'll tell you, oh, I'm French, German, Russian, you know, but he can tell you all the different nations that he came from. And that's something that's been stripped from us. And we took on basically descriptions that basically described us in relation to Europeans, rather than describing us as we would describe ourselves. Like if you go to China, they're not calling themselves yellow people. They're not calling themselves, you know what I mean? Any land you go to, they're not defining themselves and their identity by, like, in regards to an outsider or in regards to an oppressor or a colonizer, unless they've been colonized and gone through the same conditioning that we've gone.
We've influenced nearly every facet of white America, from our music to our style of dress, not to mention your basic imitation of our sense of cool. Walk, talk, dress, mannerisms. We enrich your very existence, all the while contributing to the gross national product through our achievements in corporate America. It's these conceits that comfort me when I'm faced with ignorant, cowardly, bitter, and bigoted, who have no talent, no guts. People like you who desecrate things they don't understand, when the truth is you should say, thank you, man, and go on about your way. But apparently you're incapable of doing that.